G'day friends, this is Riley from Opals. You know, what is the value of my opal is by far our most common question. This opal is on no reserve auction ending tomorrow, and if you're interested in trying to figure out what the value of this opal or any opal really is, stick to the end of the video, and I want to take you through a short process that you can use on any opal to figure out what a rough value of that opal is. So the harder part of this process is actually knowing what you have. If you're using a cut stone, this is a really easy method. If you're trying to use this method to value rough stones, it's a little bit more tricky. This stone is starting out at 10 carats. It'll either cut about an 8 carat sloppy stone, or there's some issues around the side, so if you make it a little bit smaller, you could make it probably a 5 or 6 carat perfect stone. Okay, so the first thing that you're going to want to do is go to Opal Auctions, and this is probably going to end up being like an N6 dark opal once it's cut down. So you want to go up to Opals, and then cruise down to dark opals, and then you're going to want to set blue because this is a blue opal, and then you want to click the closed items box, because you don't want to see what's currently on sale. What you're trying to figure out is what things have sold for. That's what the value of something is what it's actually sold for. And then I usually list these from high to low, and that gives you a starting point. So what you will need to do now is go through here and figure out 4 or 5 examples of the kinds of stones that match most closely to the stone that you're trying to figure out the value for. And if you sort it from high to low, these first stones are going to be, you know, the best stones that, you know, have been sold on the site. So unless you're dealing with a premium stone, it's going to be somewhere, you know, down these pages. And I've gone through this exercise before, and I found out that this stone starts to have matches at about page 10 or 11. So this is page 10. And I think the first match was here on page 11. Right, so I'm looking at this stone here, and then, you know, I'm looking at our target stone here, and I'm like, okay, that's a pretty good match. It's 5.3 carats, so it's going to be about the same size as our stone, so that's always good if you can find something that's a good match in size, and the color is more or less the same. And then so you keep going down that process, and you find the other stones, as many stones as you can, really, that you want to. And I found this one, which is, you know, a kind of good match, and I found this one, which is a similar match, and I found this one. And when I'm finding these matches, I want to find something that that at least has one bid placed on it, and that it was sold for that amount. So nothing that says reserve not met or anything like that down here. I'm looking for stones that are of this kind of color pattern and that were actually sold for that amount. And I found this last one here, which is also a really good fit for it. It's probably the closest fit. Once I find all of these stones that have a good fit, I want to figure out what those stones were paid for in terms of their carat weight. So here's the 4 stones that I came up with. The 1.27, which is this first one here, and then on down. This is the total carat weight of each of those stones. This is how many dollars were paid for those stones in US dollars, and if you divide one by the other, you get the US dollars per carat. So for the first stone, it was $28 per carat, and then 16, and then 21, and then for the best stone there, the $68 per carat. Then we take an average of those. You know, take all of these, and we get an average of $33 per carat. If you take that average and multiply it times what you think you're going to cut out of this stone, maybe 6 carats, the estimated cut weight comes to $200 total. So very, very, very roughly speaking, if I was to sell that stone, if I was to cut and sell that stone on this website, I could expect to get about $200 for that stone. Now, that's the way that I've gone about, you know, trying to figure out what the value for stones are, at least in the context of what we do here in Opal Auctions for a long time. Now, recently, I've found another website that is also very helpful, and I've kind of put it through its paces. And I don't have any affiliation from this website. I just found it the other day off of a suggestion from somebody on Facebook that said you better go and try this out. So what we got from our Opal Auctions process was that the stone was about $200. All right, so this is a really pretty easy, intuitive interface. The URL here is opalvalue.com, and to do this opal, you got to choose whether it's Ethiopian or Australian. So we pick Australian. This is an Australian opal, and then you pick the type of opal is worth $200. That's what we figured out through our method, and then we'll say it's maybe a 5 out of 10. It's a decent opal. It's blue only, and then we select the pattern. Floral, maybe a floral, and the base color, let's say it's N7. The brightness is B3 or B2, maybe let's say it's B2. It's very consistent, maybe very slightly directional, and we're going to cut it into an oval. It's a good cut with a good polish. If you put it under a loop, you might be able to say that there's some very slight webbing in there. I think you have to be pretty picky to do that, but maybe there's a bit there. And we'll say maybe it's 5 carats, maybe we'll say it's 6 carats that we get out of it. And you hit get value. You wait for 10 seconds and it spits out, bammo, $200, right on the money. You know, I've done this a couple of different times with this particular stone just to kind of see if you know, maybe make it a little bit different. I've got anywhere from like $160 to $220. So given that it's so close to the other method, I think it's a really good way to try to figure out, you know, what a rough cut value of that opal will be. I hope that you've enjoyed this, and I hope you've gotten something from it. If you find this helpful, give me a note. You know, I'm going to do a bunch of these videos about opal evaluation, and any feedback that you guys have, I'm going to get really deep and do a deep dive into this sometime in the future. But as a start, maybe this help you guys out. All right, happy bidding. We'll talk to you guys later.